Well, Balch Springs Police Chief Jonathan Haber called a news conference to announce he had fired the officer who shot and killed Jordan Edwards. He was joined by two men who on another day, under different circumstances, might have been protesting against Chief Haber. Chief Haber, Reverend Ronald Wright of Texas Justice Seekers, and civil rights activist Ernest Walker in studio tonight. The Chief, the Reverend, and Mr. Walker going that way. I'll be talking to them in just a second. First, I want to show you some of their comments from yesterday's news conference.
We would not be standing up here if we did not believe that this police department was worth backing.
Balch Springs has reacted immediately to it and took action the way it should have.
I have seen people come together for us, for the police department, for the community. I've seen people that have fought, bickered, everything, couldn't stand talking to each other, that have come together and united behind us, behind this department, behind the family.
All right, gentlemen, first, thank you all for coming. Really appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Chief Haber, I want to start with you. I've been here a long time. I've never seen anything like this. This was your press conference. You're in charge, and I'm curious how this came together to invite I don't know if you invited these two gentlemen, but it was a show of unity. How did it happen?
Well, after the event, or after we got notified of the shooting, I reached out to Reverend Wright. We've got a relationship. I think a pretty strong one, and I kind of said I may need some help in the morning. We've got some things going on. I don't have any information. I don't know what the details are, but I'm going to probably need you in the morning. And in the morning, we were on the phone talking, kind of coming up with a game plan. Mm-hmm. You know, we're going to have an issue here regardless if it's good or bad, but we need to confront it head on, and we need to confront it united. The next day, I've met Mr. Walker a couple of times, and he was persistent to come to my office. He wanted to talk to me. Our community liaison person that he's got an excellent relationship with, Sam Allen, brought him to me. We talked for a few minutes. He asked to stand with me. He reached out that hand of friendship, and when he shook my hand, I just immediately felt calm.
And these things wouldn't happen, I assume, without some history, without some level of trust. Reverend Wright, I want to ask you. You said the chief is setting an example for the rest of the country over how these things ought to be handled. Tell me more about that.
And what I meant by that was, I've been doing this, Steve, of course, you know, for a very, very long time. And what Chief Haber did was immediately give an answer. After he reviewed it, he could have kept his mouth closed. He didn't have to say anything, but he chose to take a step because he has a relationship with the community to go out and do what he needed to do with this officer. And so a lot of people have been threatening the Balch Springs Police Department. Mm-hmm. This has nothing to do with the police department anymore. Now this has to do with the district attorney's office, which it always had been the district attorney's office job to prosecute these officers, and they have not done it. And the unfortunate part is that Balch Springs police officer might be the one that they start with.
And we'll see. And we just heard from the district attorney saying she's taking no side. She's going to follow the evidence. Mr. Walker, you said yesterday, I thought it was interesting, a strong statement. You said you wouldn't be standing there, put yourself out there if you didn't believe in the department. That they were worth backing up.
Yes.
You know you were putting yourself out there, I assume, right?
Well,
your reputation on the line.
Yes. And all I have is my word and my honor. And I will stand with this police department in Balch Springs when I see the direction that the chief took this, when he said that he was going to be honest and transparent. And he spoke from his heart. We have to realize we've lost a kid, a 15-year-old kid, mm-hmm. but he's also lost an officer. I pray for that officer as well. The decisions that he made that night was obviously one that's going to have a consequence for him, and it's already having a consequence for the city. But what it has done is worked in reverse. It has brought us together, okay? And you know, I've protested against police departments. I was there on July 7 when the officers were shot. I actually led the protest. But I came to the defense of Balch Springs because they have a history of trying to reach out to their community. And I just didn't want to see people, outsiders, who are coming here. I just left a vigil, and there's a group of outsiders that are just really trying to stand on the platform of this young man's death. And really, they don't really care about it. They care about
personal advantage.
Yes, personal advantage. Yes.
Let me ask you too. Are you getting any flack from taking the position you took?
Yes,
You getting
yes,
some blowback?
yes, quite a bit, quite a bit. We've been had threats. We've had people call us. I won't call any names, and just literally curse us out and say that we disrespected this and we disrespected that. But I can deal with that. I can deal with that because I have God on my side.
Chief, let me ask you a question. I know you can't talk about specifics. You got, I guess, an appeal of this employee's firing and a case to follow up on. But a lot of people I'm hearing from have one big complaint, and they want to see this officer in jail. They say, if it had been me, I'd have been arrested and in jail, and this guy should be arrested and in jail. And you told me that possibility from your standpoint left your hands pretty much the moment that officer fired a shot. That the criminal investigation, you were out of it.
Correct. Yeah. As soon as any incident of that type happens, what happens is we call in the Dallas County Sheriff's Department to handle the crime scene. They process everything. We turn everything over to them. As soon as it happens, they're investigating. We're not investigating anything. So there's no way for us to make an arrest on anything
Criminal.
criminal on that, because we're not handling the criminal case.
Your investigation started on employment of this officer and I guess following the department rules, and that was the limitation.
Right. Yeah. Our only responsibility after Dallas County took over immediately for the independent investigation was to check for policy violations.
And they didn't have to do that. They could have drugged that out, but he acted swiftly, and made the right decision.
And the sheriff department should eventually go ahead and make the arrest.
Have you guys talked to the county at all? Anybody at the county?
Yes, I've spoken with Chief was it Hermes. He's over the one of the investigations there. I've also spoke with the DA, Judge Johnson, and she assured that this is going to be a thorough investigation and that she has the back of Balch Springs and its citizens.
All right, let me ask you guys. I don't know if you've been in contact with the Edwards. From the outside, they seem very gracious, saying they don't want protests. This case seems in the community to have people unhinged, everybody but them. What do they want?
Well, unfortunately, they lost a loved one.
Absolutely.
And they can't get it back. And they want justice. And the justice is to see that this officer is punished for taking a loved one that they'll never be able to get back. And not only do they want it, but we need it so we can set the stage. And when officers make mistakes just like we do, we get punished for it. They should be punished for it, because there are good officers that think before they make those mistakes, and they are the ones that are losing their lives at the expense of the officers that are making bad mistakes. And so this family just
They seem
want
patient
justice.
for justice. They seem to be patient.
Yes,
for
they
justice.
just want justice to be done, and that's what we want. We want justice to be done, and the sheriff department needs to go ahead and do what they need to do and make their arrest and go ahead and let's get the rolling.
And they don't want any senseless violence. That's why they're saying they need to respect their right to grieve, And
well, they called us. They didn't want us putting where the funeral was going to be. They don't want anybody
Right,
taking advantage of this or doing anything.
Well, protesting won't bring this young man back. And
It sure won't.
they're hurting, and what they need is our prayers, and they need for us to come together. And so at the end of the day, let's just show some sympathy for the family and keep them in prayer. But we don't need a bunch of, because protest is not going to bring him back.
And they want Jordan Edwards to his death to stand for something, and that means that officer will have to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. And if that doesn't happen, then it's a whole different ballgame at that point.
Yeah, patience does wear out, I suppose, if people don't get what they see as justice. Chief, how important is having this kind of alliance to the department, to the community?
I think it's extremely important. As the chief of police, I reach out to everybody. My dad, when we were growing up, he was one of those guys that stopped and talked to everybody. And as kids, it drove us crazy. Why is he stopping and talking to everybody? We just want to go. And I never figured it out until I got into law enforcement. It's because everybody's an individual. Everybody has a story, and we should be learning from each other. I've learned from these guys. I've learned from chiefs of police in the Metroplex over this incident. I learned from every citizen I have a contact with. And I think it's important that we all relate to our individuality and come together and find a common goal. And that's what this is about. Every time we have a major incident in the United States, we're all going to come together and be united and let's do this. And then all of a sudden we go our separate ways. Let's hope we don't go our separate ways this time. Let's don't go our separate ways. Let's find the common ground. All of us, we find common ground with each other. let's do it for everybody. Let's all find the common ground.
Last question, gentlemen. I kind of said patience wears thin. Do you have any sense of a timeline you'd like to see? I know you want the investigation to play out. Do it right. What's your timeline?
I think the sheriff department should make their decision actually before this week is out. As far as making an arrest on that officer.
I mean, the evidence
Does
is,
it have to be an arrest? If you
Well,
think they
here's the
did due
thing.
diligence and don't do an arrest, then does everything change?
if I
Yeah,
kill
everything-
someone, would I be arrested?
That's right. It's not the uniform that's getting arrested. It's the person that's in the uniform. And
That's
people
correct.
need to understand that. It's not the uniform.
Right.
It was a decision made of the person wearing the uniform.
Right, right, and that should not reflect the police department.
One other question, we got to go to producer, but there's been a lot of talk. It's got to be a murder charge. Does it have to be a murder charge?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, yes, it does. In my opinion, it does, because there was no need to have a rifle or to fire that weapon, in my opinion.
Manslaughter.
And
won't
let me
get it
just
done.
say real quick, Steve, and I know that officer feels bad because he has children, and you
Yes.
have to literally be, for you to take a young kid's life and you've got young children, he's probably going through it, but, when you make your bed hard, you got to lay in it.
All right.
Right.
Gentlemen, thanks. I really appreciate open discussion. Thank you all for coming down. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.